There is a profound and terrifying misconception about the unseen dimensions that has kept you isolated, exhausted, and constantly bleeding energy. You have been conditioned to believe that you are perpetually being watched by the spiritual realms in order to be judged, punished, or endlessly tested for your perceived human flaws. That is a fabricated lie designed by lesser entities to keep you small. You are not being judged. You are being meticulously studied. You are being documented by hierarchies of entities, both of light and dark origins, because you possess a highly volatile occult mechanism that they simply do not comprehend. You have the rare biological and spiritual capacity to transmute sheer malicious darkness into raw, blinding power. The constant crushing exhaustion you feel, the agonizing urge to shrink your brilliance and lower your frequency just to exist in average rooms without blinding ordinary people, is exactly what is draining your life force. You have been taught that this chronic fatigue is a sickness, a biological failure, or a sign of depression. But when a spirit like yours experiences this inexplicable heavy paralysis, it is not a defeat. It is the immense gravitational weight of carrying a spiritual architecture that this world is trying to collapse. If you have recently noticed that your physical exhaustion peaks exactly when you are surrounded by certain people, or if the unseen attacks against you have inexplicably started to fail, go to the comments right now and type 777. Register your frequency, establish your presence. Subscribe to this channel because the revelations I am about to share are systematically blocked from the algorithms of those who are not ready to hear them. My name is Enrico, and I have been observing the spiritual architecture of this world for a very long time. Listen to me with absolute focus. I am going to reveal the exact, terrifying mechanics of why your physical body feels such a crushing spiritual weight, and what is actually happening in the unseen architecture of reality when you can barely get out of bed. We are not talking about the mundane tiredness that comes from a long day of work. We are talking about a deep, cellular, metaphysical exhaustion that settles into your bones when your soul is being weaponized for a higher purpose. For months, perhaps years, you have felt a physical, suffocating pressure in your chest and a heavy fog in your mind whenever you are forced to interact with the corrupted. You thought there was something biologically wrong with you, but what is actually happening is a desperate, automatic survival mechanism. You are forcing yourself into a suffocating intellectual quarantine. You have to constantly monitor your words, dull your sharp instincts, and pretend you do not see the masks slipping on the faces of the manipulators around you, all just to keep a fragile, fabricated peace. You starve your own intellect so they will not feel microscopic in your presence. This self-imposed suppression is a profound trauma to your nervous system. It physically hurts to swallow your truth. It drains vast reserves of your vitality to play along with the illusions of broken people. But when you do this, when you deliberately dim your immense light to spare another person's fragile ego, the unseen world goes completely, deafeningly silent. Angels, those beings of pure, unadulterated light, do not possess the capacity to understand the dark nuances of human limitation. They are completely immune to the need to hide because they do not interact with the darkness. They exist in a static, impenetrable state of grace. But you do not. You walk directly through the mud and the heavy venom of human corruption. The celestial realms literally pause their operations to observe you in absolute awe. They are witnessing a technology of the soul that they do not possess, the capacity to act as a living, breathing spiritual filter for an entire environment. As this celestial silence falls, the entities that thrive on chaos, the parasitic shadows hovering around those you are protecting, realize that you are not just a participant in their game. You are a load-bearing pillar in the energetic ecosystem, holding back an ocean of fire just to let them breathe. The weight you feel is the literal atmospheric pressure of you holding up a collapsing reality. This leads to the second phase of your exhaustion, the energetic starvation and the inevitable breach. There comes a moment when the people you have been protecting, the ones you actively tried to heal with your warmth, decide to extract more than you can give. They deploy fake vulnerability, they manufacture chaos, and they study your micro-expressions to find the exact crack in your empathy. They operate entirely on a parasitic frequency, lacking the internal spiritual machinery to generate their own warmth. When they push their manipulation into the realm of pure malice, your intuition snaps from a state of hopeful, empathetic denial into a state of cold, surgical hypervigilance. You withdraw your energetic supply. In that exact fraction of a second, the heavy, flowing pipeline sustaining their fragile ego freezes over. You begin to transmute their venom, taking the poison of a broken world and synthesizing it in the high-pressure laboratory of your own heart. The friction of this transmutation is what leaves your muscles aching and your mind completely drained. At this exact moment, as the fallout of this spiritual warfare begins to materialize, and the parasite begins to starve energetically in front of you, you need something more than just simple awareness to survive the physical toll. You need the precise architectural blueprints of this duality. This is exactly why you must look at the description and the pinned comment below this video. I have secured exclusive access to the Wisdom of Solomon Code. This is not a collection of empty, toxic positivity or meaningless motivational quotes. It is a strictly guarded package containing the complete ebook and audio files designed for the practical mastery of this exact frequency dominion. It is the definitive manual for those who are ready to stop bleeding energy and start commanding their reality. And it costs less than a simple meal. Secure it immediately before it is removed, because what happens next requires you to be completely anchored, unbothered, and established in your own supreme power. Once you are anchored and the parasitic cord is completely severed, the mechanism of divine wrath is fully unleashed. And this is where your body undergoes the most brutal phase of its exhaustion, acting as the spiritual liver. You must understand that when you, a being marked by a significantly higher frequency, are intentionally damaged, the spiritual defense systems respond with terrifying mathematical precision. The higher entities unleash a karmic boomerang so devastatingly calibrated that it bypasses all of the abuser's earthly defenses and strikes their foundation. But the universe must process this massive shifting of energy, and because you are the grounding rod in this environment, your physical body feels the shockwave. You will find yourself waking up repeatedly in the dead of the night with a racing heart and a flushed skin, consumed by a heavy dread that does not belong to you. You are filtering the atmospheric toxicity of the karmic rebound. You are feeling the echo of the exact pain, confusion, and psychological rot that is actively dismantling your tormentor's life. Because your enemies do not have your spiritual antibodies. Because they have never done the agonizing work of facing their own shadows, they cannot process the heavy energy of this universal immune response. Their internal world becomes a haunted landscape. While they are suffering a permanent maddening rot in their psyche, your physical vehicle is simply processing the exhaust fumes of this geometric justice. The profound lethargy, the desire to entirely isolate yourself, the physical trembling you experience in the dark. This is not weakness. It is the violent shaking loose of the demonic entities that orchestrated the attack against you. They retreat in absolute frustration, realizing they have accidentally provided the exact heat and pressure needed to forge you into a weapon they can no longer touch. The isolation you crave is not depression. It is a sterile operating room. The universe is violently removing every single low-frequency attachment from your aura, because your vibration is about to skyrocket to a level that would obliterate those connections anyway. Finally, as the internal decay of your enemies breaches the surface, and their engineered reality entirely collapses, your exhaustion transforms into absolute emotional immunity. As the masks of your abusers slip uncontrollably, and the universe perfectly orchestrates their exposure, you will stand completely still, watching the architecture of their deceit crumble. And you will feel nothing. The heavy weight lifts, replaced by the terrifying realization of your own newly forged apathy. You can no longer be easily swayed by manufactured tears or manipulative guilt. The frequencies of shame and obligation simply bounce off your energetic armor. You physically and spiritually disappear from the radar of the corrupted. They can no longer read your energy, they can no longer predict your moves, and they are completely, permanently locked out of your future timeline. Do not ever romanticize the crushing exhaustion you have endured to reach this point. There is absolutely no nobility in being an endless battery for broken souls who violently refuse to heal themselves. You were not given this immense, blinding light to be a martyr for the dark. The physical weight you carried was the exact surgical mechanism that cleansed your universe of parasites. You are no longer prey waiting to be consumed in the shadows. You are the architect of a new, untouchable reality. Walk securely in this brutal, beautiful truth. Do not ever look back at the ruins of those who foolishly tried to bury you. And remember that your light is not a request for permission to exist. It is an absolute command.